Hey, welcome to Picking Daisies, the podcast where we dive into all things messy, beautiful, and a little bit chaotic. I'm Mary Hendricks, your hot mess of a host, ready to walk with you through every laughable, cry-worthy, and grow-worthy moment. Every Tuesday, join me and an incredible lineup of fellow moms, women, and experts as they share their own stories of growth, resilience, and silver linings that they've uncovered. Together, we're building a village, a reminder that even in the thick of it, you are truly never alone. Because let's be real, we all have our mess. Everyone's got those moments. But here, we are finding the beauty in it, also the humor, and growing from whatever life and motherhood may bring our way. Welcome to Picking Daisies.
Can I ask you, how is your camera set up, and how can you see me? Because I've wanted to do virtual guest interviews, but I'm my computer screen is so small. I want to make sure I can see you, so I'm curious.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see.
Sorry, I know we're recording, but
everyone, hi, everyone.
We can save it. Yes.
Hello, everyone. That's what I like about podcasts, though. I enjoy just regular banter. That's how I want to listen. I don't necessarily need it to be all formal. So, hi, everyone. I have Kaitlyn here with me. We're going to introduce her in a second, but first, I'm going to try and show her, and I'll describe what I am showing her as I'm doing that. I'm going to hold on. Let me take a video or a photo. I bought a webcam because right now you're on my computer. I'm looking at you on my computer. It is so janked up. I just took a video. But
okay, I can't wait.
Hold on. Okay. So right now that's, can you see?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can. Your laptop's just sitting there on a cooler.
On a cooler. And
I love it.
I have my camera, I have a Nikon camera tripod. And so I literally just took the webcam. I bought it's Logi. I bought it at Walmart. It was
Logitech,
yeah. Yeah, Logitech. But they have one for $39 that is really good 4K and stuff like that, because I have a MacBook Pro, which the camera's not that great. And this quality is really good. So I bought this and I just have it connected into my computer, but I have it on it's actually pinned in. I fidgeted it in between my camera and pinned it. And so that way it's above my laptop looking at me and I can directly see you, but you can't see me. But I have, for everyone not seeing, my computer to see Kaitlyn is currently stocked on a cooler. Actually, it's a cooler that's on top of an old chair that I found in my basement, and then a shelf that I don't know, I had lying around. It's a plank of wood. So I have her propped up on these three things, and it is janky.
I love that. It's so funny because my setup too in my podcast room upstairs, where I prefer to record, it's totally janky. It looks kind of nice. I mean, if you really look closely, there's cords everywhere in the background, but if you look on the other side that's not on camera, it looks so trashy, and there's just boxes of things that I need to donate in the back corner. It's I just shove it out of the room or shove it out of the camera, but But I love it. I mean, you look great. The space looks great. It looks cozy. I'm excited for you.
Thanks. Well, I'm excited to have you on. So, okay.
Thank you.
Let's get into it. Hi, everyone. Okay. So I have Kaitlyn here. Kaitlyn Nilles, right? Nilles?
It's pronounced Nilles, but everyone says Nilles. And Cody was actually telling me the origins of his of his last name, and he's like, "Yeah, in our family history it was actually Nilles with one L, because it has my last name has two L's." He was like, "It was Nilles, but then something happened, where an extra L was added at some point." Yeah. And anyway, but yeah,
I feel that's a thing though. No, but I feel that's a true thing. People who came over through Ellis Island, if they couldn't pronounce their name, they kind of Americanized it to do it. So then people actually stuck with it, per se. Yeah. And it's crazy, but I love that.
Yeah. But it is Nilles, but I don't get it. I'm not one of those people that gets offended if people pronounce it wrong or whatever. It's I know what you mean. So yeah, all good.
Awesome. Okay. Well, then introduce yourself. Tell everyone about you, because I was on your podcast and we'll talk about that, but I you're on the author end now, and I get to find out all about you. So.
Yes, I love that. Okay. Well, my name is Kaitlyn Nilles, and I am from Salt Lake City, Utah area. I'm a content creator, a small business owner now, and podcaster. I started posting on social media just about 4 years ago, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It was in the middle of the pandemic. I had just had my second baby. I was on maternity leave, and I was kind of not bored, but I just needed an outlet because it was during the pandemic, and I was kind of afraid of going out in the world. And I have, I have anxiety, and so I was like, oh, like the pandemic, like I don't want to take my baby out. So we were just kind of like in our own little world in our house. So I wanted kind of an outlet. I started posting on social media the real raw realities of being a mom and like what that really looks like. I love talking about things like mental health, domestic labor, what it's like being a working mom. I quit my corporate job in last May. So I'm not working in corporate anymore. But prior to that, I worked at the same company in corporate for 12 years and recently quit so that I could focus my efforts on my small business, content creation, and then my podcast, because before I was doing all of it and I was just so burned out and something had to give. So I don't know. Yeah, that's a little bit about my journey. I have 2 kids. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old daughter. Awesome. And I am divorced. I've been divorced for over a year now, but recently started dating my ex-husband again. So we're living together now. So we're divorced, but I don't know. It's always tricky, like knowing how to refer him. Like I want to say husband just for like sake of ease. Yeah. But then like people who know my story would be like, wait, your husband, like, are you guys married? Did you guys get remarried? I'm like, no, we didn't get remarried. But like, it seems strange to call him my boyfriend. That feels like juvenile. And to say partner. Yeah. And to say, so usually sometimes I'll say my partner, but like that doesn't really feel right either.
Baby daddy.
I don't know. Baby daddy. I don't know. Yeah. It just kind of depends on the context. I might say that, but just, I don't know. The whole thing feels weird. So he's just, I try to say Cody. So if I refer to Cody, that is my ex-husband, baby daddy, father of my children, boyfriend, whatever.
Partner,
yes.
Spouse,
partner, all of it.
I love it. I love that. So we got a lot to talk about. And so as I had mentioned, I was on Kaitlyn's podcast. I didn't sign up for this. That is a great podcast that you need to go listen to. And you brought me on for the same reason that I'm kind of bringing you on, because you brought me on to have like the stay at home aspect of things, because at this time, like you said, you were kind of talking about the working mom side, and I'm bringing you on to talk more about the working side of things, because more in the corporate world too, because I think I do work now, like you and I are both the same in that, like we have these other ventures, but I've never I'm working for myself. That is a far different thing than working for someone else that you have to give like your 100% to, while also having to give your 100% to your family. Like you have to give your 100% so you can give your 100% to your, like, it's one of those that I wasn't able to do. Like I tried working, and on your podcast, I had told you I tried working, and I was personal training, but I kind of crafted my career to allow me to be more flexible. But even in getting to a place where it could have been somewhat flexible, I still couldn't do it because I was expected to be 100 in the position I was, and I couldn't give it my all. I finally had something that mattered more, and it didn't sit right with me, and financially it didn't make any sense for me either. So I dipped out, and it's it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot of struggles that moms face in the workplace working for someone else. I mean, even if you just think of like, I mean, first of all, like the working hours just don't coincide with school hours. That's one thing that I've learned since my oldest went into public school. Because prior to that, she was in daycare, and we were paying a crazy amount of money for daycare and extended hours, where it was like a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So we did that for a while when both of our kids were younger. But then when my oldest went into kindergarten last year, and it was like, okay, drop off's at 8:15 and pickup is at 2:30, but my hours are 8 to 4:30.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a job that's flexible, if you're not working remote, if you don't have a flexible position, what are you supposed to do? And the school that we're at now, they don't have a before and after school program, where I think a lot of schools do.
Yeah.
So there's just like, that's just like one example. And then if you think about the things of like when your kids get sick, like, and you don't have sick time, or you haven't worked at the company long enough to have vacation time that you can use if your kids get sick. And it's just like, there's so many obstacles.
Well, and that's what I even think about is I think about the obstacles that I have of just getting my kids to things in general, just being a stay-at-home mom. That's why for me, envisioning being a working mom, again, every mom is working. So let's just, for everyone here, just to make sure no one's pants get in a twist, that we're just using the textbook terms, not textbook, the societal terms that we've been so used to. Stay at home, working. Okay. Stay at home moms are working. All right. But there are so many obstacles that I think about just being a stay-at-home mom that make it hard. Like, even just, like my daughter this past year and son had soccer, and soccer started at 5:30. But I have like getting the other two kids there, where my husband, thank God, was able to get home and he was able to take her. But thank God he has a job that his hours have now been a little bit more structured, where he knows he's going to be home on time. But if he wasn't home, it was really hard for me to go and make it happen, where I'm like, I can't imagine. I think about that, but I also think about like my old job that I had when I first graduated college, where I first had my very first experience seeing working moms, because before that, it was always kind of what, like I saw, it was rare. I grew up, we talked about this. Like I grew up, 90s, New Jersey, in like middle class suburbs, but most of the moms on my street were all stay at home moms. So I saw only really that. And the only other parents that you saw were like, it was rare to see, because I don't know, we all kind of hung out together. It was like one of those things. And then the kids that are all in aftercare usually all hung out together. And it was like a different grouping of kids and everything. But the whole working mom, but like seeing it as an employee, I used to get so frustrated because they would have to leave at like right at the dot at 5, and we would get stuck with picking up the extra slack, and I'd be so mad. But now as a parent, I'm like, well, but how would I have gotten my daughter to soccer if I couldn't have left at 5:30? And how am I supposed to make sure that my kids are getting to activities and having those extracurriculars when I have an entire schedule and probably deliverables?
It's hard. And like, I understand that too. I didn't fully get it before I was a parent. I used to be like that person. Like when we would be choosing, God, I feel like such an asshole now. And like thinking back to them, I'm like, God, I was like,
oh, we were all assholes. It's
fun. So, but before I had kids, and we'd be choosing like who gets to work because I worked at eBay, I worked at a tech company. We're open 365 days a year. So some people had to work Christmas and Thanksgiving. So they would do like what they call like a shift bid, where they don't have to have full staffing, but they still have to have people there. Right. And I just feel like an asshole now, because before I had kids, I was like, it's not my fault that you have kids, and that like, I want Christmas off also. And I don't have kids, but like, I want to be with my family. And so, and now I look back and it's like, oh, like, I don't know. It's a little bit more important for like the moms and dads to be there on Christmas morning for their kids, rather than for me to be like with my parents when I'm in my mid 20s, but I don't have any children. And so it's hard because it's like this fairness thing. And that like kind of came up a lot when working for corporate. But it's like also like our lives are so different. Yeah. Like my life as a mom and as a parent, and especially when I was a single mom, was extremely challenging. And that's ultimately why I left my corporate job, is because I was in a position where I was salary. It was fully remote, and I didn't have the flexibility to go and pick up my daughter and drop her off at school, and then come back and like finish my job. Like my boss was just kind of, I mean, he had people above him, whatever. I like give him the benefit of the doubt, but like it just wasn't working anymore. And I was like, I'm a single parent. It's not like I can like make up hours in the evening when my partner gets home, because I don't have a partner. It's just me. And at the time,
and that's the thing. You have like so many perspectives. I think that's why it's like, again, that's why I wanted to have you on, but you have a lot of perspectives of you had to do it solo for a little bit. Like I know you and Cody are reuniting. Are you guys living together again, or is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep. We're living together. And and I know we'll get back to what you were going to say, but we started living together. His lease was up. And so, and we were kind of dating. We are like, well, his lease is up. Like, let's just go, like, lack of a better word, balls to the wall and see if we can make this thing work, So he's been living back here for a couple months now, but
okay. Great. Yeah. Well, but, and I was, as I was saying though, is you've have a multitude of experiences at this point. You've done the solo thing with 2 kids, and you've done the divorce thing, and you're now doing the reunification thing and the marriage thing. And you have a lot of facets. That's why I love having you on. But like, that's again, everyone listening, you're all doing a crazy ass job. But right now I'm just going to do a little shout out to like single and solo parents.
Yeah.
And then just working parents of just like having, again, we all have something on our plate, but I think the thing that like puts a pit in my stomach, if you were to tell me right now that I need to go get a corporate job, I would cry my eyes out. I would cry my eyes out.
Yeah. And
it's literally just because to be there for someone else that is not of any importance. Like this is my main thing. It's just, I know how much strength it takes to do that. And, but I also applaud it too, because I don't want to say that to every working parent. I don't think every working parent, it's difficult for them or any of that, because I think some like there are working people that are parents that are absolutely fucking loving it. Again, you and I are both working in some subset. Like I still work, I still have deliverables. I'm on here right now and I've had to figure out who has my kids and everything. But, I applaud it too, because you guys have, if you are working and you enjoy it, that means that you actually have like identified something that is good for you. Cause that's the thing too, is you have to, it's so hard. It's so hard.
Yeah, honestly, it's all hard. And I'm the type of person where I grew up, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. I live in Utah. So there's a lot of very traditional values here. And so that's what I grew up seeing. Yeah. But I am the type of person and type of personality where I don't know, it would be a challenge for me to be a stay-at-home mom and with my kids all the time. I love my kids deeply, but caretaking, this is like one thing I've really been digging into lately, is like the difference between like motherhood and caretaking.
Oh yeah.
Like motherhood is like the relationship, or like parenthood is the relationship that you have with your child.
Yeah.
But then caretaking is the actual like tasks that go into, raising a human, like changing the diapers, doing the laundry, like those. I don't really like caretaking. I don't enjoy that at all. And so I think being a stay-at-home parent would be extremely difficult for me. Yes, there's a lot of challenges that come with being a working mom. I do feel like you have to have more of like that village. Sometimes you have to pay for your village. Everything's hard in their own ways. And it really just does. There's so many factors. It depends on like the person who's doing it, like what your situation is, how flexible your job is. And there's challenges also to being a creator. Like I'm sure that, like, yes, you have flexibility, but there's cons to that too. So it's just almost like you just have to pick your hard.
Oh yeah. Well, and my thing too is that like, I was thinking about this, like stay-at-home moms, working moms, the reason why we call it that is because of, you're considered a stay-at-home mom when you have access to your kids, because you technically have access to your kids all the time. That's essentially what we're doing. And that's kind of what the label has been placed, because if you're stay-at-home, that means that you're telling people that you're home, you don't need that work. But why does that, like, because what is the difference if a stay-at-home mom has found a hobby that she is able to work into her world? Like, what if she's not getting paid? Is it only because she's getting paid for it? Like, like if she's able to find something, but because we're getting, like, if you think about it, working mom means that like, it sounds negative only because if like you say working mom, it almost makes you feel like you don't have full availability for your kids. Like it's almost like there is the difference. What's the difference? And I think it's bullshit. I'm like, why does there even have to be a difference? If you think about it, like if we all, I don't know if that's like too out there, but I'm like thinking about that right now, where I'm like, it's, the labels exist because we are acknowledging that there is some sort of inequity in it, or there's not equality in it, which I think is bullshit, because why should there be a trade-off? Why I don't know. Why can't we have both?
Yeah. I don't really know. And I kind of struggle with that terminology too
It's
myself, like
hard.
referring to
Yeah.
myself as a working mom. Anytime I say it in my content, I always, it's like, I don't really know what else to call myself. Like where people would know what I'm like referring to myself as like a mom who works outside the home. That's just like more of a mouthful than just saying like working mom. So, but it's like something that I've struggled a lot with over the last couple of years as I've grown social media is like, how do I refer myself? Because all moms do work. And if you think about it, like I have paid thousands and thousands of dollars, more money than I even want to admit to childcare. That is paid labor. So if you are a stay-at-home mom and you're home with your kids, that's labor. Yeah, you're not getting a paycheck, but like that's not free to me. I don't just drop them off somewhere and not have to pay for it. Like it's a lot of money that we pay for childcare. And so, and I know that there was like some study that I saw it floating around social media like a little while ago of like how much a stay-at-home mom would actually get paid. And it like broke it down. I can't remember the numbers, but it was like,
I think it was
like almost like 200. Yes, it was like over 6 figures.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you like racked up all the jobs that like a typical, but again, that's like the typical stay-at-home mom if she's doing everything. I don't know. It's like if you think about everything where I don't. I don't know.
I don't know. Well, all we need to know is that we're all working. All moms are working. All moms work. It doesn't matter if you work outside the home, you're inside the home. Like everyone's situation is just so different, but we're all working our asses off all the time, 24/7. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, and that's my thing. I think what I was about to say when thinking about like the value portion, I'm like where I hesitate with that is like, yeah, because it's true. If you really do think about like a lot of the things that I can think about what I handle, and I am the default because being stay-at-home mom, you kind of just fall to whoever's at home the most. I feel like is usually kind of the default per se because you're home, like the schedule of things, and I bring my kids usually everywhere, and so I have the majority of that stuff. But if I were to think about that, but my main problem with thinking about the value portion and like is yes, it's there, but like just because it has a big financial number doesn't mean it's more valuable, if that makes sense. Like I feel like some people are like they need that number to prove, and I'm like, why do we need to prove it? Like why is this something that we need to like put a money sign on to see value in? That like there's value regardless of what I don't know. I have such like a
God, it's so hard. Well, it's so hard too. And like I've had many conversations with my mom, and like a lot, like I'm the only mom in my immediate family that also works outside of the home and like makes like money. My sister-in-laws, they have like hobbies and stuff and things that they do on the side, but I don't know. I don't think it's like a livable income. Right. So like, but I've had conversations with them about, I think it's just tricky when you're not actually like, and it really shouldn't be this way when you're not bringing home a paycheck. For some reason, I think women feel like if they're not bringing home money, it's not like their money.
Yeah.
And so it's like a less than job, but it's not. Yeah. It's actually harder to be at home. Like if you ever ask like a dad to stay at home with their kids for like a week straight, 2 weeks straight, like,
no,
they're going to lose their shit. They're going to lose their minds because it's hard.
Oh, I know.
So
I know.
I don't know how that plays into it. Like how much,
Yeah, that's how I was. I used to feel like that before, honestly, before I started kind of making an income with like content creation and stuff like that. But I mean, I suck at spending money in general, which in not a bad way. Like it's probably a good thing that
that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I need help.
I know, right?
Help me.
I'll come over and I'll smack your phone out of your hand every time. Amazon is dangerous. But I used to feel that way. And I've gotten much better. And my husband was always against it too. He was always the one that would remind me, being like, this is ours. Like this is because we have a shared bank account. Like we've always had shared stuff. Now we don't, funny enough, now that we're both like, because we both have secondary income and like whatever. Now we've kind of kept them different of us just like making our own incomes. But we also have like one major checking account that we put everything and share together. And we're like, we always know that we have access to stuff. But I think it was weird at the beginning of like knowing what money is that. But even at the end of the day, like, I don't know. It's a weird
It's tricky.
thing. It is tricky. because I don't feel that way. And I've always encouraged women to not feel that way because it's our money. You have to think about it as a unit. It's really hard when that's been like you've been trained. Everything has a financial value. That's where I'm like that again. That's why I have such a problem with like, men are refusing to see value in it unless they see a dollar sign where I'm like, like, can we not?
Well, just have them contact their local childcare center and ask how much full-time childcare is.
That's why I couldn't do it.
That's what their wife's salary should be.
I know,
because
right?
that shit is
Plus
not cheap.
more.
I'm just telling you right now, like it's not. And
well, and those people are underpaid. That's the thing. And those people are underpaid.
I know, it's shocking. There was one year they sent out an email and they were like, "Oh, we're increasing our rates. This is why." And they had like a bunch of line items like explaining why they're increasing. They said that they were raising the hourly wage from $10 to $11 an hour for their employees. And I was like screaming. I was like, what? They are only making $10 an hour? Like, and this was only like 2 years ago.
That's insane.
I was shocked. I'm like, and we're paying so much money. I mean, I don't know. It's this childcare thing is like a whole other, beast, but it's crazy.
Beast. I know. I'm gonna have to bring Paige on. I saw that you were just with. She's a page turner. If you guys haven't checked her out, she's wonderful, but she talks a lot about like the domestic load and default parenting and equality.
She's great.
It's crazy. But okay, so we've talked about the working thing. It's hard. It's crazy. But also here, one more thing about the working thing, because you obviously left your corporate job. You're now pursuing more of it's an entrepreneurial thing. Content creation and social media and podcasting and all that stuff is more entrepreneurial. You also have On Your Way right?
Yep.
Okay. So you have all
that's
that.
My small business. Yep.
Yes. So that's scary though. Like I know that's probably, it's very scary. Like doing all of this for me and relaunching that, it took an investment because I've had to invest in stuff and invest in branding and help and things like that, where it's scary to do that because it's on me. It's like riding on my shoulders per se. How do you feel with that? Like, what do you have to, like, what encouragement would you give women in like debating that? Because it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. It was hard leaving my corporate job because I was making good money and they had amazing benefits.
Like stability
and having
like,
that stability. Yes. The stability. And at the time when I left, I was single. So I was losing my insurance. I was losing all my benefits, my stable income. And at the time it was like doable financially, but you know how it is with content creation when you're working with brands, it's not a consistent income.
No.
It's not, you can't always, some months are great and then there's nothing for, a month or two.
For anyone listening behind the scenes wise, like with content creation, like, everyone gets mad about content creation and that we're talking about like collaborations and talking with brands. People get mad at people for sharing that stuff. Please don't. Just understand that this is how we fund.
It's the only way that we can show up.
And fund the time that we're trying to produce to provide actual good value in your lives. So just keep that in mind. And most of us are doing it the right way. I promise you, we're taking this very seriously because a shitty product and shitty fake review looks really bad on us. We don't want to lose that. So but with that being said, things like content creation, you don't get a steady paycheck. So like you can book something, but like you can have a couple of brand deals per month already lined up, but then all of a sudden they get pushed or suddenly like weeks or delays in review. And then it gets pushed to like the next month. And I don't know. Do you work with a management company?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. They pay me every like net 30, I think, for them, but I have to wait. So it's always waiting and I never know what it's going to be. So I never know until the month is over. So there's like no,
it's just not consistent. And I think that like just one thought I'll say about like the content creation is like, we talk a lot about like unpaid labor for women with motherhood and caretaking. Like that is unpaid labor. And so like when it comes to content creation, that's also unpaid labor. Unless we are posting something for a brand. I don't know what your journey was like, Mary, but I really didn't start making any money on social media until last year or the last like even
2 years,
probably since January. Yeah. And so I was posting everything I was posting, was just like, and I never started social media to make it a job or anything.
Oh, yeah.
It's just kind of turned into that. But a lot more work goes into it than what you realize. And it is a full-time job and it's unpaid. And it's
a job
unpaid
that
until you reach a certain point. Yeah. And then you can start making money.
It's hard to say this. It's a job I don't want, although I do. So like that sounds weird, is that I do want this job because I do want to be here. I hate the other shit. I really do. Like it's fun for me in that like I like the marketing aspect. So like I have fun with collabs and stuff like that, but I don't like doing that other stuff just because it's so finicky. I just want to do my own thing. So I hate working for someone else. That's my thing. I hate working for someone else. So as long as like I have like wiggle room and like my own creative spin on things, then I'll do okay. But I just want to be here talking to people all day. I don't want to do the other stuff. So for everyone listening, just know that behind the scene thing is that going in for that, like I don't know why we expect free. I don't know why we've gotten into everything. And I get it. And but you also want good things aren't always free. Like we want really good. I want to produce really good quality content. Like that's my thing is, I want to be able to dedicate more time. And if I have a help to do that, I can actually like create listenable, watchable, hopefully absorbable content that will hopefully make change, because that's like really why you and I are here. So
I know, I love that. And I love that like for both of us, we just started posting like something that we're passionate about, and it's turned into something where we can help support our families. I think that's really awesome.
When did you kick off your podcast? How old's your podcast?
So my podcast, it launched the end of January, but I don't know. So I don't know when your episode's going to launch or
January.
release this episode. January. Okay. So my podcast will be on pause because I took some inspiration from you, Mary, and other podcasters and people in the space, but it's just become too much. So I recorded my final episode yesterday for now. It's just indefinite. It's not forever, hopefully. But I don't know how long it's going to. But I recorded an episode yesterday. It will be coming out in a couple of weeks. So by the time this airs, it will be like old news, right?
Okay.
But I did put but it was really a hard decision. But so much work goes into it. And I just lately feel spread too thin, and I just need some time off.
Usually, and that's
to
another
regroup,
thing.
Figure out what I'm going to do, strategize.
Yeah, well, and here's another thing for behind the scenes for people listening. I don't know about you. I've really never monetized this space. Like I haven't earned a single cent in producing any of this stuff. Again, it's like the very merry life collaborations, but Picking Daisies I've never been hired to produce an ad on someone. It's always been roped in, or I take what I'm being funded collaboration wise, because podcasting usually takes a long, long time to ever see that return. It is a true labor of love. And that's why I took a break, because I needed to make sure I loved it, because if it was starting to become a thing that, again, if it's spreading you too thin, it's not, a dream is not a dream if it becomes a nightmare to maintain. It's not one of those things. And it's okay. Like I talked about that recently. It's okay to pause a dream. You have to sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with shelving a dream also. And I had shared that. And I remember when I did, actually, a few women had reached out with their jobs where they had decided that they were going to put their jobs on hold and things like that. And they were like, it's something I love doing, but they knew with motherhood and things like that, they did that, and that's how it related to them. But I was like, it's there. Like it is there. And we could talk about like, I don't want to get into like, yes, if you pause your career, we could talk about like the real deal things as to what can happen.
Right.
But it is one of those things that, yes, you can pause anything and just regroup. It doesn't mean that you're giving up on it. It just means that you're regrouping to make sure that what you're going for is the same thing. And it may have shifted. It may look a little bit different, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So,
and it's, I know. And it's such a hard, it was really hard. And I've been thinking about it for a long time. And then I'll be like, no, like because I do really love having these conversations, like getting on with people like you and talking about the real things going on in motherhood. It's a long form content. So it's different than social and what I put on Instagram. So I really enjoy it, but the recording part is the easiest. And then what comes after is really difficult.
Why are you getting a lot of
not
shit?
difficult. It's just time consuming.
Oh,
It's not difficult. It's like the editing and then the promotion and marketing and
I know.
caption things so that it like is hitting SEO and yes. And so it's like, it's just, and it's like, you can hire someone, but my podcast, same, like it's a new podcast, a very small community. So I was never, I didn't work with any brands to have ads or anything like that. And so I don't want to spend hundreds of dollars a month.
Nope.
Hiring an editor, hiring someone like, and so anyway, I just need to take some time off, regroup, re-strategize. Hopefully I can revisit it in 2025, but that's kind of new in my world. And I was feeling like a failure for a little while, but I know.
No, because even like, I'll tell you from my experience, like, again, I paused it. I paused it for mental health reasons. But again, all of that, it pertains to stuff. Like there's a bunch of shit in our world. Like when we say we're spread too thin, who cares why that is? But for me, I was spread too thin mentally, physically, everything. And I needed to pick my things that I needed to keep. Again, you can shelve a dream, but that doesn't mean that you have to shelve every one of them. So right now you're prioritizing what dream you want to pull down and focus on. And I think that's a big thing too, is, I did that and I poured into like the Very Merry Life. I don't remember even how many followers I had I'll have to look when I paused what I was at like in January, but I know my page grew, and my content, my mental health has gotten better. So I feel like my content has gotten a little bit more better and more focused and a little bit more me. I feel like when your mental health is kind of shaky, you kind of create stuff that isn't a true accurate representation of you, because you're almost trying to you create something in hopes that it's going to like be the thing that's like, that's it. Like that's what I needed, and it doesn't happen. But now I feel concrete. So like I did all of those things and I paused this so that way I could work on everything else. And doing so, like I was able to get more collaborations and more brand deals and earn a little bit more that I could put away to be able to pour back into this, even though I'm not making anything. But right now it's the investment portion. It's like the thing to keep you afloat, hopefully. And if it doesn't pay off, I don't care. Again, that's not my goal for this. I don't care. I'm just having fun. It's one of those things that like right now it feels good and it reminds me of me and sitting with you or anyone. We both need that. Like we both need just this for whatever it may be, adult interaction. So even if you don't have this, you're going to get it somewhere else and you're going to be good.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah. And then just going back to, you asked if I had any like words of advice for anyone, like kind of taking the leap and maybe quitting their corporate job or really just anything. Yeah. It doesn't have to be that. It could really be with like anything. But I remember asking one of my brothers, who is an entrepreneur, and he used to work for a big cell phone company. He was senior vice president, this, very demanding job, but paid really well. He worked really hard to get up there. And then he left his job. Like, I don't know, it's been between 5 and 10 years, a long time. But I asked him, I said, how did you do that? Because he was supporting his family on his own. His wife was a stay-at-home mom. So that was the only income that they had. And his words of advice to me, and this has really stuck with me, is I never regretted taking a bet on myself. And that just like, I don't know what it was about that, but that really just like stuck with me. And I think that is so true when you are relying on yourself and like relying on like your dream and like you're the only one that can make it happen. You know that you can make it happen. You know that you can, like, and so that's one thing that really like fueled me. And I'm so glad that I left my corporate job. I mean, there's a lot of, I'm just there for my kids more, and I don't have that stress of, not being at work, or am I going to get fired? Am I going to get written up because I have to go pick up my daughter or go to her Halloween parade? I have to leave for an hour in the middle of the day. Like my boss is going to be mad. My coworkers are going to be looking at me like I'm a slacker. Like I don't have to worry about that anymore, And so, so if I don't know. I don't know if that helps anyone, but it definitely helped me.
Yeah. And I mean, even during those days, so I'm trying to think like when you were in those corporate days and that was the hardship, like what did you tell yourself during those moments to keep you kind of going? Like what was your words of like, what was the thing that you would tell yourself?
Like while I was working my corporate job and was like kind of struggling.
Because there's some people that, obviously don't have the choice to like leave or any of that. Like, what do you you gotta, some people just got to keep going. So what did you tell yourself during those hard moments and things like that?
Yeah, there's no shame in working a job and supporting your family. I remember I had Sarah Steele, the corporate mama, on my podcast, and she's so confident in her.
I love Sarah.
Her role, yeah, Sarah, yeah, her role is like a working. I mean, not her role, but like she's a working mom. She has a high-powered career. She's a career woman. She's a mom, and she's also a single mom now. And I just remember her saying something in the interview is like, I will never apologize for working and giving my kids a life and providing for them. And I just will always remember that. I think that like if you're ever in a spot where you're just like unhappy in your job or you're going through something hard, you want to be there for your kids more, but you maybe don't have the option to leave. It's just like give yourself those pep talks. Like your kids aren't going to remember when you weren't there. They're going to remember when you were there. Yeah. And it's really about the quality of time that you have with your children over the quantity. If you are present when you're with them, and not distracted and you're fully there, you can put your phone away, you can put work down to be there for your kids when you are there. That's what's going to matter. That is the relationship that you create with your children, even if you're not doing the caretaking tasks or
and even
as
if
many
you are,
caretaking tasks. Yes.
Yeah. And even if you are, I actually have a timer on my phone every day, specifically, and do it with my son because he's the middle and I feel so bad being the middle. I'm pushing back so hard to not make him the middle child syndrome, like get him middle child syndrome, but it's very hard because he is so torn and his sister is an almost 3-year-old. So we're like entering those waters where she loves screaming bloody murder. So it's like everyone gets pulled in every direction. So like for him, I have a timer on my phone for 25 minutes to just put my phone away. And I set it and I say, we're going to sit down. My phone goes away, TVs go off, and we just sit on the floor and I play with them. And I hate it because I hate playing with my kids. Yeah. But I love the quality time. So like I don't like the imaginary stuff, but I love having that. But that's all to say that like I'm a stay-at-home mom and I still have to work on making sure that quality time is there because I'm around all the time. But that doesn't necessarily mean that if I'm around all the time and an asshole, like my kids are not going to want me around. But like if I am around sometimes and the times that they're seeing me is a good and positive interaction and you're able to catch up on the day and you stay open and allow for them to tell you about your day and the days that the things that you weren't there to see, like I don't see the difference, honestly. But there's no difference. It's quality versus quantity hugely. Yeah. Hugely.
Absolutely. So. Yeah, absolutely. And kids really don't need that much of your time,
no, they don't.
Undivided time, like to
we
form
have
that
guilted ourselves so much about that. We could get into so many topics, but my daughter did that. She was outside playing on the swing set the other day and I was inside doing dishes. And so I could see her. We have a fenced in backyard and I can see her at the swing set and I can watch her through the back window as I'm washing dishes. And I felt so bad, but she was having the time of her life. She was pushing like a stuffed animal in the baby swing. And I could tell that she was talking to it. And I'm like, I feel so bad, but I'm like, this is good for her. She's not crying. She's happy. And I'm like, you have to like remind ourselves that because we've been so like, we've gone above and beyond. I've talked about that before. We can, again.
I don't know why we torture ourselves. I don't know why we torture ourselves as moms and just tell ourselves that we have to like be constantly engaging with our kids. Like my mom didn't do that growing up. No. And my mom's my best friend. Yeah. I have a great relationship and I've always had a great relationship with my mom, but my mom wasn't sitting down playing Barbies with me. She had 6 kids in 12 years. Like she wasn't doing that. No. Because she was doing the laundry and running kids to activity. Like she was doing all the things. So I don't know where this narrative came that we like have to just constantly engage with our kids. And then we just like the mom guilt sets in. Like that just needs to go away.
No, I refuse. You can all feel it. Just next time you feel it, just remind yourself. Just set your timer.
They didn't do this in the 90s, okay?
No, they didn't care.
They
didn't
think about the 90s.
I know. That's what I'm trying to do. More 90s parenting.
Yes.
My God.
Please.
With a little touch of, God, who is that creator?
Compassion and validation.
Who is that creator? Do you see that she's blonde and she's funny as hell? You would know who she is. And she came up and she's talking to her mom. It's a real mom. And she's going through like new wave parenting. So like her mom is trying to say something and she's like, oh God, I'll have to find the video. It's so funny.
Yeah, send it to me.
You'll recognize her. She's like blonde. She's more comedic. I think she's like 700,000 followers, but she's going back and forth with her mom saying like, no, we want you to like go slow. And her mom was like, she's like, this is why I have anxiety, is because you were always yelling at us to get out the door. And she was like, well, because we were always late. And she's like,
Daily Tay?
Yes.
I love her. I saw that video. Yeah, it was very real.
Cracked me up because I was like, that is so true. I was like, that's my mom showed it to me and I was like, yeah, that's spot on.
Yep, spot on.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone, Kaitlyn, tell them where they can find you and go from there.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm trying to grow my YouTube channel, but it's just but you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. It's at honestly.Kaitlyn. And then I'm over on Instagram mostly. Like I'll post stories, and that's where I feel like I'm like spending most of my time. And then I guess my podcast, you can always go back and listen. I may not be putting out new episodes when this one comes out. But you can go and listen. I have over 40.
Yeah, I'll link the episode that we were on. So we talk about that. So I'll link that in the show notes also. Everyone go listen to it because you have so many great guests on there and so many great topics. Yeah. And again, it's called I Didn't Sign Up for This. And the whole point of it is like, what's the one thing you didn't sign up for in motherhood and like what you didn't expect and all of that stuff. So I think it's great. And pausing it doesn't mean it's ending. It might. And who cares? If it does, it does. And if it doesn't, you come back and we'll wait and see what happens. But I'm trying to think. I was going to say something else too, and I forget. I don't know.
That's okay. It's a ADHD. I get it. I have it too.
That and my little one has been getting up at she was up at 4:45 this morning.
Oh,
yeah. We're tired.
Oh,
she's up for a nap right now. It's actually worked out.
I was going to ask who was watching your kids. I didn't know.
Well, my mom was supposed to come over because that was a big thing. It's like, I need to I don't have childcare for this. So I told my mom and dad, I was like, I need you guys. I was like, they're not as super into the whole social media thing, but I was like, they know that this is important to me. And I was like, I really need your help. And I was like, I can't pay you or anything. And they're expecting it. But I was like, can you please just come over to at least Tuesdays and Thursdays? I'll just know that that's blocked off. It's not going to be every Tuesday and Thursday, but at least I know that you guys are available if need be. And so they usually came over, but my husband didn't tell me that he was going to be home. So he was just sitting with my son, and now I'm going to go trade off and go up there, and my daughter's already asleep. So I'll just
there you go.
Wait for her to wake up. Yeah. So I got to figure it out in some manner, but awesome. We have to, actually one last thing before you go. So you and Cody are dating, and you'll see where that's all going. You know what? Damn it. I'm going to have you come on for another episode. We'll just do that.
Okay. I'm down.
We'll do that. I'll have you come back on because we'll talk about that. Because we
can talk all about divorce, single parenting, co-parenting. Yeah. The other thing that, Cody and I, I'll just say this. Yeah. I'll just say this quickly, but Cody and I had a pretty amicable divorce, I would say. So we co-parented really well together. We would go on co-parenting trips and
correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm getting this from social media. And again, you can only take so much, but it sounded like Cody had a drinking problem, if I'm correct. And so that was really kind of your rock bottom for him, essentially, I'm hoping.
Yeah. I mean, there were definitely other problems in the relationship other than drinking. But that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. It was something that we struggled with for a while. And, without getting into a lot of details, there was some substance abuse and it was just really hard. And so, but there were other issues in the marriage as well.
Well, that's why I want to have you come back on, because I think, I don't know what the response, I'm sure on Instagram, I can only imagine the feedback that comes from sharing.
It's mostly been all very positive. I was actually very surprised. I was nervous about it. But he's a great guy. He's always been a great guy. He just had this issue. And he has been sober for over a year now. He made the choice on his own. I think that's something that's really important for people to understand is that ultimatum, I don't know, everyone's situation is different. It didn't work in our case. The ultimatum, really, in order for people to become sober, in my experience, they have to do it for themselves. Otherwise it will never last. And I think that's what the difference is with him now, is that he truly made it for him because we were already divorced. Like everything was finalized. Like I was like, we're not going to get back together. Like I'm shocked that we're back together because I never would have. I like closed that door. Like I closed that door.
Because when we had chatted, I think on your podcast, I don't know, I forget when we recorded that, but it was like in spring, I think, right? Early summer.
Yeah, it was like pretty early. Yeah.
But I know you were talking then, you're like, I don't know if I'd get remarried, or like it wasn't even like a thing, but I do know, like, with just following you and being on stories and stuff, I know when you guys went to France over the summer, I remember how nervous you were to share it. And I remember just seeing your story being like, this is kind of really hard for me to share, that like we are exploring things again. And I remember seeing that being like, I hope people are nice, because again, we need to have another podcast for this, because that way people don't like have to sit here the entire time. But like, I think it's a good reminder that like relationships are not, they're not like linear. Like it's really not. I mean, I've been married to my husband for almost 10 years, and it's been a roller coaster. Like the last probably 2 years were probably like the hardest of it. And now we're like coming back up again. And like, it's just an ebb and flow of like everything that happens in life and transforms you, that like, it's just one of those. But I think you can show that there's like I don't know. It doesn't mean for everyone. It's not saying that you're promoting everyone who divorces their spouse to get back together with their spouse.
Definitely not. Don't do that.
No. It's more just it's a good reminder that relationships getting divorced is not an ultimate thing either. I think it's like a very final thing where people think like, oh, that's dead, like dead forever. And you're like, no, not really. It's just it's a legal thing. It's really not changed a whole lot other than the legal binding. So it's not, But
what I'll say about it is just that it's not, I just like lost my train of thought.
I hate that. Don't you hate that?
So sorry, Mary.
Don't apologize for that. I do that all the time. It's like you could feel it.
I was going to say something so inspirational too.
Damn it. Okay, well,
snap. I know. Like, let me think for a second what I was going to say. I
was saying that divorce isn't final. That like divorce isn't like
Okay, here we go. It's back.
Here we go.
You have to know your worth. You have to know your worth. And if you are in a relationship where your needs are not being met and you deserve better, there's no shame in getting divorced or taking steps.
Yeah.
You're the only one who can make that decision. It's going to be different for everyone. What works for me may not work for you, and that's okay. But if you are not getting your needs met, and you just have to know your worth. And the difference with Cody and I now is that he treats me the way that I know I deserve to be treated now.
Yeah.
That wasn't happening in our marriage before. And now he treats me like a queen. He's an equal partner. We have a great relationship now, and it was never that way. And so it's like, how can I not try to make it work now that I've seen he's done all these things, and he has constantly been showing up that way. So,
well, and exactly, because I think sometimes also like, I've said this a lot too. I was actually a guest on a podcast yesterday. It was like, we forget that like people aren't mind readers. Like when it comes to offering help and things like that, we expect that people automatically, especially the people that we love, we expect them to understand our every need, even if we don't communicate it. Like we, for some reason, have like made this. It's not the reality of love, but it is. I think this dreamy idea that love is like the soul connection where we just understand each other. We don't need to even speak words. And like, there are some people that very much vibe. And yes, I am a true believer in love. And I do believe in like energies that just are perfectly aligned. And I'm a big hokey dokey person on that. But also, can we kind of cut the shit and just realize that we're all human?
I'm like, I don't know if I believe it. I think communication is so important.
Important it is. That's why I'm like, there are some people that are energetically better, but that's because their energies allow their communication styles to match up better. That doesn't always happen with everyone. So like, like my husband and I have had to go through a lot of learning. And I think sometimes people just look at like, if Cody didn't know it beforehand, then immediately no forgiveness. And there are some people that don't try. There are some partners that don't have any effort, and maybe they do try and they can't get it. I don't know. There are some whatever, but if Cody's getting it and he is trying, and maybe it's just something that like he may have not learned. We all learn differently throughout life and through our own experiences. So like, it kind gotta cut a little slack, like allow it.
And honestly, and honestly, like if he wanted to, he would. Like you shouldn't have to like tell someone how to treat you.
No.
And I didn't tell Cody how to treat me when we started kind of like, getting back together. Like he just started doing it. Like he knew me. But you shouldn't really have to, communication's important, but like you shouldn't have to beg someone to like treat you right. If someone's cheating on you, you shouldn't have to beg them to like not cheat on you. Like they should just, if they wanted to, they would. And I know it's more complicated than that. But I think everyone deserves second chances and, things are going great. Well, life is wild. Life is wild. This is like, I never would have guessed life would be like this way, but, it just is. And that's okay.
Yeah, I love it. It's a story. Yeah. That's what I always tell it. Main character energy. It's just your storyline.
Yes. So, absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. So we've already told everyone where to find you. Check out the show notes, people. Go check out Kaitlyn. And thank you. All right, Mama, that is a wrap on today's episode of Picking Daisies. I hope today's chat left you feeling seen, understood, and maybe even gave you a good laugh along the way. As we all know, motherhood isn't easy, life isn't easy, but it's moments like these where we can connect and share our stories that really help make that load feel a lot lighter. So if you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean the world to me if you could take a moment to leave a rating and review. Your feedback not only will help this show grow, but also it will make sure it reaches other moms who might need that same dose of honesty, humor, and heart. And don't forget, if something in today's episode resonated with you, share it with a friend or hop on over to Instagram or wherever you connect on social media and keep the conversation going. I love hearing your stories and being a part of this journey with you. Thank you for being here and for showing up for yourself. And then, of course, sharing that space with me. So until next time, remember, we all grow through what we go through. You've got this, Mama. I'll see you next week.